Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Show Me the Podcast. I'm Harrie / Tales of Peck, and I'm joined by my co-host Lorraine / Mums who wing it.
I do wing it on a daily basis.
Don't we all?
Hello.
We are also joined by 2 glasses of wine, and we are ready to go for this episode, which is all about Tim Burton.
I do love Tim Burton. I was so pleased with him. I don't remember who came up with the idea of Tim Burton. It was probably me.
Really? No, I think we were just sort of talking about the auteur in general, and we were like, Tim Burton, you know.
Yeah, I suppose he's the definition of that, really, isn't he?
I think. Well, this is what this is all about. Yeah. In our humble opinion.
Yeah,
we think so.
Yeah, in our humble opinion.
And that's what we're going to explore.
Yeah, no, I must admit, I was really excited about this episode. Like, because I love his films, and I watch so many of his films, and they're so different. And while researching it, I actually preferred this one to all the other episodes that we did. So for you, I'll be loving you. So for those of you who don't know many Tim Burton films, there are quite a few. So as a result, myself and Harrie would like to sit and talk about them for hours on end, but we're only going to talk about 2 each. So I picked for myself Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, better not say it a third time. What do you pick?
Well, yeah, going against the grain.
Apart from the one I know.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Bitch.
So as you've guessed, we're telling you what we're going to be discussing, whereas in the past we haven't. And I'm really happy to announce that I'm going to be discussing Sleepy Hollow and Batman Returns.
I really wanted to do Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, I think we rock, paper, scissors over it.
I know,
didn't
but
we?
I can still discuss it.
Yeah, man, this is what it's about, discussion.
Exactly. So we're going to get to Tim Burton in a few moments, but first we're going to go back to discuss what we may have been watching lately.
That's right.
So what have you been looking at? Where have you been? What have you been doing?
I have had a fair few cinema trips lately.
I haven't been to the cinema once, but I'm going to try and get soon because I just don't have the babysitters available.
If you can hear some noises in the background, that's my neighbours.
The rugby's on.
Yeah. It's St. Patrick's Day.
Woohoo!
An Ireland.
Fiddly-dee. It's okay, I can say that.
I was just about to say.
I grew up in Ireland and I am half Irish. I have an Irish passport.
There we
so
go.
I can do it.
Yeah,
I love you, Irish people. I'm going back in May.
Woohoo!
Can't wait. Go away. Yeah. Sorry. What did you go and see at the cinema, Harrie?
I went to see Black Panther. Yeah.
Oh, was it really good?
It was good. It wasn't as good as I wanted it
Hesitation.
to be. Yeah, no, the storyline, obviously fantastic, cast, fantastic, you know.
How was, I can't remember her name, but she's in The Walking Dead. She's Michonne.
She's great, you know.
Yeah, I love her.
She's a really cool character.
Does she kick ass?
She does.
Good.
She does.
Good. I love her. She kicks ass in The Walking Dead too.
I
so.
missed her dreads though. I
know, because
love
I was
her
saying to Dev, we were watching The Walking Dead the other day, and I was like, God, she must get really hot with those dreads on, like, because it's in Atlanta, Georgia. And he's like, is it dreads? Are they not hers? I was like, no.
No, yeah, it's a wig, isn't it?
It's a wig, yeah. But it looks really warm every time I see her. I'm like, poor thing.
Really?
I think she's going to be massive.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be a big
too.
star.
Yeah. The sister in this as well, Shuri, sorry. She's excellent. And have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it, no.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to come from her character moving forward with the MCU. But anyway,
okay.
I was a little bit disappointed in the CGI, I have to say.
Okay.
It failed a little bit there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some good fight scenes? Oh, no.
Yeah, not
You
great.
need a good fight scene.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'd give it, if we're rating, I'd give it about 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's still great.
That's good, yeah.
But a recommendation.
Okay.
So what have you been seeing?
Well, a huge recommendation. I was watching on Netflix, 8-parter, The Sinner.
Okay.
Yeah, it stars Jessica Biel and Bill Pullman.
Oh, yeah. I saw your initial review on Instagram.
Yeah. No, it's really, really, really good. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but what I am going to say may sound like a spoiler, but it's not. Everyone knows about this. Who knows about this knows that this is what happens and this is what it's about. Because everyone's like, it's really gruesome at the start. And it kind of is. But basically, Jessica Biel's character, Cora, is sat on a beach. She's with her family. She sees this guy and girl fooling around, and you can see that it's kind of freaking her out a bit. And the next thing, she grabs a knife, runs over. This lad is about early 20s and starts stabbing the shit out of him.
Oh, God.
Just going to town. And she doesn't know why she's done it. She gets arrested, pleads guilty, blah, blah, blah. End of story. Should be over in 20 minutes. No. Bill Pullman comes in and he's like, something ain't right here. So he comes in and basically the whole thing is about finding out why this guy.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a random attack. But they find out, so the whole thing is about finding out why this guy was stabbed. And it's actually a really interesting story. And the end, I was not expecting. I was really shocked at the end. But Jessica Biel in this is outstanding. She really is. And it looks like a very exhausting role.
Yeah.
Because she has to be crying and down and traumatized and all sorts in this. And Bill Pullman actually is amazing. It's a really good one. I'd highly recommend it. I'd give it 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely 8 out of 10.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I might check it out.
Do. I think you'd like it. I think it's not, because I think the problem is people have been saying it's really gory, but it's not. It's pure suspense, mystery. Oh my God. It's literally like, who shot JR? You're like, what happened to Cora? Like,
Okay.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely give it a go.
Give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'll do.
You do that. You do that.
So another film. Oh, I've seen 2 more films at the cinema. I saw The Shape of Water.
I so badly want to see that because she's like all aliens, isn't it? Falling in love with an alien or
It's not
something?
he's like he's a fish man. He's an amphibian man. He's a beast, kind of.
Yeah.
He's the beast of the Beauty and the Beast kind of vibe of this film.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that's interesting way to look. Yeah, I never thought of that.
And I liked it. I didn't love it like everybody
Okay.
else, and that's not because I'm like, I don't want to go against,
But he's a bit different, isn't he? I can't say the director's name. I'm not even going to try.
Guillermo del Toro.
But he's kind of like Burton. He's got a distinct style.
Oh yeah, and it's beautiful. I mean, the whole production
Yeah.
of the film is flawless, and
Yeah.
I think I think it definitely deserves praise.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I even like believed the romance of it, but do you know what? And I'm going to sound like such a prude.
I know what
but
you're going to say.
It was just a little bit too crude for me.
My mum actually watched this and she said exactly the same thing. She had to turn it off.
Oh,
Because
really?
there was this, I don't know what the scene is, but obviously it's what you're talking about. And she's like, it was just a bit too much.
Wow.
Yeah. But she's 65.
Well, yeah.
I'm being
And
ageist
I'm
here.
30, so how sad am I? But no, I mean, I didn't mind the violence in it, and that's probably a bad thing to say. I didn't mind the blood and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it was just there's some, and I am not, adverse to films of a sexual nature, but the scenes in it just seemed crude for crudeness sake.
Okay.
And I didn't like that aspect.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of scenes in film, like especially sexual scenes that are just there for the sake of it. You're kind of like, okay, we know what you're doing. Move on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Our neighbour's not being murdered.
I think someone scored.
Yeah. Score.
And sorry, just to cut in again, I saw, I had my first lonesome cinema outing.
Oh, what was that? Oh, Ladybird.
Yeah, and I loved
Is that
it.
Saoirse Ronan?
Yeah.
Oh, Saoirse Ronan. Yeah, I really want to see that.
I don't think it should have been nominated for a best film, I have to say. It's a lovely film. Best screenplay, yeah. Nomination. But in terms of best film, no. It's for me, it was purely nostalgic. And, you look, her experience is sort of going into adulthood as a woman. It's you can really, as a woman who had that experience, you can really relate to a lot of experiences in that. But also the dialogue in it is really good. And I was laughing. There was only like 5 of us in the cinema. It was like 6 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon. It was great time to go. But yeah, I came out of it and I was just like, oh, that was good. That was funny. I can relate. And then on the way home, thinking about it, I was just like, oh my God. I was sobbing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Real experience seeing that film. And I highly recommend it.
Oh.
So I'd say out of the 3 of them, that was my top.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I have been watching again because they're both back on. A lot of stuff kind of come back on all of a sudden. The Walking Dead and iZombie.
Oh, yeah.
So The Walking Dead, Carl, sad.
Carl.
Carl! Yeah, very sad. very intense. I may have cried just a tad, but it was a really good episode back into the new season, and I've been watching it since. I think there's been 3 episodes, and it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Okay.
It looks like it's really going to be a good one. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything because some people might be waiting. Some people record them all and then binge watch them, so I don't really want to say anything. But if you don't know what happened to Carl and I've spoiled it for you, have you not been on social media? Yeah, everyone knows that, but I'm not going to say anything else. And I know you watch iZombie.
Yeah.
Which I think has got quite dark. Like there's actually I don't want to say, because if I say what I was going to say, then it would ruin it again if people haven't watched it.
I've watched the first episode of season 4, and it didn't pull me in. I don't like how big the universe is getting.
No, it didn't pull me in, but I carried on, and I think it's episode 3 I'm on now.
Okay.
I don't want to say.
Okay.
Because I don't want to ruin it if people haven't seen it yet, because
yeah.
If you don't know this has happened, then if I say this name, it will ruin it.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. So I don't want to say anything. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. But a film I watched, which you will never watch in a million years, is a film in 2003 by Rob Zombie, which I have seen before, but I watched it again.
Yeah.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be watching that one.
Yeah. No, I am a fan of Rob Zombie. I love his music.
Isn't he making another film? I think I saw.
He does he does the Halloween films. He did Halloween 1 and 2, Devil's Rejects, which is a follow-on from... Is it a follow-on before? Yeah, follow-on from House of a Thousand Corpses.
I'm probably being really dense now, but I thought Carpenter did Halloween 1 and 2.
No, but he did it as well. He's made some as well.
Oh, 1 and...
Yeah, Rob Zombie directed 2 of them as well.
Oh, not just Halloween 1 and 2.
No, because basically there's been so many remakes.
Oh,
he kind of did his own...
Right.
Things.
Sorry, listeners.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lorraine.
But it does really... The thing is with his films is they freak you out. They're the type of films like that they stay with you for a little bit.
In a nice way. Probably not.
No, not really, because the problem is it's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets The Hills Have Eyes type thing. And I did a couple of road trips around America, and especially the southern states. And I watched these types of films before I went.
That was wise.
It was really wise. And I was driving around, and the whole time I was thinking, because especially when we were driving from where was it, Vegas to Dallas, and there was a lot of open road, and I was like, oh my god, don't take any turns, we're gonna die, whatever. But
we got a full tank of gas.
But his horror films are different. You can see there's a creative mind there, and in a sense, I suppose he's a little bit a bit Burton-esque in the sense that you kind of know a Burton film, a zombie film, and he's very much got this relationship with one of the actresses that is in a lot of his films called Sherry Moon, who's his wife, and kind of the whole Helena Bonham Carter thing with Burton.
Yeah.
But the thing about his films is it's not just let's go out, slash at people, gore. They're weird as hell, but they're just really interesting.
Okay.
They're just, I don't know, but they freak you the beep out. They really do. I wouldn't recommend you watching them. Definitely not.
But people into that kind of thing do.
Yeah, if you're into horror films and you haven't watched a Rob Zombie film, do. And also check out his music.
Okay.
I like him, and he's a really strict vegan as well. He's very all about animals. So I know.
That's intriguing.
Yeah, was it an oxymoron? Is that what they would call it?
Wow.
If you like horror films, check out Rob Zombie, because a lot of people I talk to don't seem to know Rob Zombie films, but I like his films.
I know of his work and I know what he's done. I just don't choose to watch.
No, that's fine, obviously.
Yeah.
But but definitely. Cool. Have you watched anything else or any?
Yeah, I've got 2 more things to mention.
So do I.
Well, Altered Carbon, Netflix. Oh my!
Was it good?
God. I enjoyed it so much.
What is it actually about?
Oh wow!
Oh, is that one of those?
It's okay. So it's set I think it's 300 years odd in the future.
Yeah.
And human beings, when they're born, have a little gadget called a stack implanted into their spine, basically. And this is where the human consciousness is stored. Oh. And it's removable. So
can you put somebody else's in?
Yeah, this is it. So you can go into other people's bodies, and basically bodies are referred to as sleeves. It's a really interesting concept.
I'm going to watch this.
Yeah, it took me like 2 episodes. Like, so from the off, visually stunning.
Okay.
It's had such a big budget put into this, and the cinematography of it, the production design, it's all in there. It's really good from that point of view. It takes a while for the story to get going.
Okay.
But once it does, which is in around episode 3, you're just hooked. You can't stop. I mean, I binged it over 2 days. And there's 10 episodes.
Oh, right.
I do have a life. I sketch whilst I do.
She spends it on Netflix.
Yeah. And I will pre-warn people, there is a lot of nudity, but it's not bad.
You get that with a lot of things nowadays. Like, I must say, The Sinner. Bloody hell.
Really? Jessica
Oh,
Biel?
Jesus. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And not just the top.
But this is it.
We went down there.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil this slightly.
And I just kept thinking, poor Justin. But he doesn't care. He knows what she does for a living.
Yeah, no, in Altered Carbon, you see every little bit of James Purefoy. And I'm not a
What, even his willy? I didn't think they were allowed to show the
I don't like that
landscapers.
man, but he's well endowed. That's all I'm saying.
Who was it? James McAvoy, is he in it?
No.
Who did you say?
Purefoy.
Oh,
Purefoy.
Purefoy.
How do you say his name, Matt?
Purefoy.
Purefoy. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of him, but he's in it.
Wasn't he in The Following with Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, I didn't watch that, but
That was brilliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, sidetrack, but really good. And they cancelled it after 3 seasons. Loved it.
Okay, yeah.
It was all about serial killers.
Of course, yeah.
My thing.
My thing. But yeah, highly recommend Altered Carbon. Totally.
Okay.
And I'll just finish off and then move on to your last ones. So I've listened to a podcast recently. Another one, a different one to us. And it's a BBC podcast, In Our Time. And I listen to it now and again. They do some basically a couple of experts sit down and they discuss a certain topic. And this one I listened to was Hamlet. And I was just like, it all just like hit me about how I freaking love Shakespeare. And I just...
Wow.
I fully embraced that whole episode, and I highly recommend people to listen to In Our Time, because they cover all sorts of subjects. Like the other day it was the pigs, and I was just like, wow. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, my next 2 are documentaries.
Of course. No, that's cool, man.
I live on documentaries. The first one, actually, was really interesting. I don't know if many people have heard of him, but you probably have, but some people haven't. It was on Sky Arts. Actually, I think both of mine were on Sky Arts. It was about Buster Keaton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, he was a silent film actor, producer, director, comedian from like 1898 to 1966.
Yeah.
And basically this documentary is how, like, in the silent film era, he was like this massive star. And then it's slowly the decline of him. He gets involved with signed to MGM, which was the infamous Louis B. Mayer, who sounds like a right prick from what I say. He ruthless as hell.
Yeah.
And basically life spiraled out of control, alcohol and all this kind of stuff. And he had a lot of, when he signed over to MGM, I think it was the fact that he lost all his artistic independence. It was more about what they want. They showed this scene of him doing this scene in a film, and it wasn't what he wanted, and
Right.
that was just one of the examples. But it's basically, and then he gets his life back in track, and I thought he died quite young, but he actually keeps going. He lives quite a long life, and he was admired by directors such as Orson Welles, and for people probably only think of silent film actors, Charlie Chaplin, everyone knows who he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy was a big one too, and it was quite sad to see the decline of him. But really interesting. So if you can get that up on Sky Arts, definitely go and have a look.
I do have Sky Arts.
And my other one was it just randomly came on actually. It was a documentary about the 80s, which I thought it was, because I love the 80s, and I thought it was just going to be about
Tapping.
no.
Sorry.
My next documentary, which again was on Sky Arts, was all about the 80s. So I thought I was going to see some Wham and some, Wake Me Up Before You Go. But no, it was actually all about technology.
Oh,
okay, yeah, and it was so interesting, like, because it was like the introduction of the Walkman, the VCR, the camcorder, gaming. And there's this one guy comes on it, and he starts talking about how, in years to come, we're not going to have paper money. We're not going to, there's not going to be shops. Do you know all this kind of stuff? So he was talking about stuff that actually is happening, and this is like going on in the 80s. Yeah. And, one thing that probably people can see as a huge impact is things like, you know, renting videos.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they basically were talking about camcorders and not camcorders, VCRs, because people were recording films and they were like, we don't want you recording films because you're taking away from us. But then people were like, well, hang on a second, videos. So then the video recorder became this huge, you know, commodity because people were going into video stores and renting films, and that became a massive industry.
Right.
And then it starts going on about, you know, Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Paul Allen coming on and discussing all about computers. And, you know, there was one scene watching Steve Jobs trying to convince people about what computers were going to be. And the computers were like these big, ugly, disgusting things. And like, you know, all the, I don't know what it's called, but you know, where all the like information is stored, like these big, massive things. And then talks about the introduction of software from Bill Gates. It was just really interesting to see because I never thought of it. I never think of where it comes from.
No.
All the technology. And
or where it's going.
Oh, where it's bloody going. Yeah, it needs to slow down a little bit, I think. I may sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but sometimes I'm like, whoa. But yeah, it was really interesting watching them get onto the World Wide Web. And, you know, it was just a really... If you got Sky Arts, that's a really good channel, by the way.
No, I know.
Yeah, because don't you watch all your RT-farty programs?
Portrait artist of the
Portrait
year.
Artist, yeah. Which she should go on, by the way, because she's an amazing
I got told,
artist.
I don't think a pencil drawing is going to get very far.
Who said that to you?
Some dude on Twitter. And I was like, yeah,
really?
It's the taking part that counts. And also, I oil paint, motherfucker. I didn't say that.
What a knob jockey. But yeah, so Sky Arts, some great stuff.
Yeah, no, they do really good documentaries on it.
But yeah, so...
Cool.
And on that note, I would like to say we've actually had some reviews because, as you know, to get up the old chain in iTunes, it's good to get some reviews and some stars. So we really appreciate it. If you listen to this, you could just give us 5.
We wouldn't mind as well if all you podcast aficionados, or that's the word, would like just message us about other platforms that we could go on that you'd prefer us to be on. And
definitely.
we'll do that for you.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to us, that is.
If we can get on them, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Spotify you can't, but...
Well...
Exactly. But yeah, so we really appreciate that. So if you can continue just, you know, tapping 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'd highly appreciate it. It's really easy.
So yes, the first listener review we have is from Says Podcast, and Says Podcast says, I found your podcast on Instagram and just thought I'd reach out and say I love what I'm hearing. You guys have a great chemistry and it's such a fun sounding show. Keen to hear more. Well, don't worry, because you're going to. Thanks.
You can hear plenty. You can hear so much. Another one was from a Deveridge. Humorous podcast about films. Amazing chemistry between the 2 girls as they discuss all things film and TV. Definitely looking forward to more episodes. Thank you, Deveridge.
Cheers, ears. The next one we have is from Caroline. Engaging, chatty podcast, catching up on films. Sort of a book club for films. I like that description.
Yeah.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also, because we were saying to people that maybe they should drop us their Tim Burton favourite films.
Ooh.
And we've had a few in. So we haven't been able to put them all up, actually, because we'd be here all day. But, well, we have had quite a few.
Yeah,
but
no,
I've put
yeah,
up some
yeah,
of them.
yeah.
So, Harry, who does the first one come from?
The first one is from Dev. I believe you know Dev.
I do. He's the father of my child. I've laid with him.
Oh my goodness. Dev says he loves Corpse Bride.
He does love this film. He watches it a lot.
And he mentioned it in the second episode, didn't he?
Yeah, as his favourite film.
One of
Yeah,
his
the
top
Thor
5.
episode. Go back and listen.
Yeah, because he was a special guest.
He was.
Yeah, sorry, going back to Dev's message, he says, definitely my favourite Tim Burton film. It has hauntingly beautiful soundtrack. Burton's signature art style and a mix of pathos and humour really come together perfectly.
Our next one is from a Michaela. Her favourite Tim Burton film is Beetlejuice. Good. I think it's the perfect combination between creepy and funny. That's very true, actually. Yeah. Michael Keaton is fab in it, and my favourite scenes are the Deo, Deo, daylight come and we wanna go home. Where he makes them dance around the table singing the Banana Boat song by Harry Belafonte. Also, I like the waiting room scene with the shrunken head guy. It's definitely a great Halloween film and the legacy has stayed strong. Everyone knows Beetlejuice. That's very true.
That's a good review.
That's a really good review.
Sorry, good comment. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so the next one is from Anne, and her choice is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Anne did enjoy this film, not as much as the original, but it was still a great effort from Burton. Depp was believable as Willy Wonka, as he tends to play the quirky, weird character extremely well. Not quite Gene Wilder, but a good second place. A nice film to take you away for a few hours. Definitely true.
Definitely true. And our next one is from Steph. I think Mars Attacks is one of the most underrated and under-talked about films. I have to agree with that, and I do love it. It has a fantastic cast, even with the lack of Johnny Depp. And even though he's tried to fit every genre possible into one film, it just seems to work. If you fancy a comedy, thriller, action, sci-fi, drama, then this is the film for you. Also, she mentions Big Fish. With Big Fish, I love the way he makes the whole film so believable. Tim Burton transports you into these crazy stories, and it feels like you're right there, experience it all. It's really quite magical and has a fantastic soundtrack.
Interesting.
Did you not like the soundtrack?
Do you know what? I need to give Mars Attacks another go.
Mars Attacks.
I haven't seen it.
Is it I'll Be Loving You? Oh, I can't remember it, but he's like something like I'll be loving you.
It's been such a long time since I've seen it, and I was a little girl when I saw it, and that dog's head on
Sarah Jessica Parker
freaked me out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's so good. It's such a good film.
Okay, I'll go back to that one. I'll check that one again.
It's so weird. It's so Tim Burton.
I didn't know it was him for years.
Yeah, no, it's so weird.
Okay.
It's so good. I actually nearly picked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was torn between Beetlejuice, Mars Attacks, and Ed Wood.
See, I'm kind of glad that you didn't pick it, because I'd have no comment on it.
Nothing to say, yeah. No, that's grand.
Moving on to another comment is from Glass Half Film. This was on Instagram.
This was on Instagram.
He says, curveball, but big fish. I'm a real sucker for adventure films. Great cast and beautiful sets too. I have to agree. I don't love it, but it's a nice film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Ewan McGregor in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And our last one is from Hannah. And she, again, picked Beetlejuice. And I noticed with a lot of the comments we got in, Beetlejuice was a run-in favourite, actually.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite Tim Burton movies. It is amazing. Fun fact, Beetlejuice is only on screen for 8 minutes. Best not write that name anymore, as she's mentioned him twice. I thought he was on screen for about 8 minutes myself, and I had a look, and some people are saying 17, some are saying 17.5. I'm not quite sure, but needless to say, he's on for a very short time, but has the most amazing impact.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Why didn't he win a freaking Oscar for that role? We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We've had to stop ourselves from talking about this, like all things Tim Burton all day, just for this podcast, just for you guys.
I know, we were getting a bit carried away in the old coffee shop.
Again, I bet coffee shops hate us.
I know, because we talk too much.
We really do, and really loudly.
I know.
Right then, shall we get into the crux of it all?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Tim Burton was born Timothy Walter Burton in Burbank, California, all the way back in 1958, August 25th.
He looks like he's got a bit of a Walter to him.
He does, doesn't he? A bit of a Walter.
Yeah.
His parents were known as Bill and Jean. Bill and Jean Burton.
Oh.
They raised old Tim.
Billie Jean.
Billie Jean. Billie Jean Burton, yeah.
Sorry,
I think he
no
like
disrespect.
that. He grew up in Burbank, so he attended Burbank. And when he went to school, he wasn't interested in the maths and the science.
I hear you, brother.
When I was writing this, actually, I was thinking, this is so Harry. He was interested in painting, drawing, and watching movies.
I hear you, brother.
And apparently, one of the films he made was as early as the age of 13, called The Island of Dr. Agnor. And apparently, that's one of the earliest films that's actually, there's a copy somewhere looking around.
I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, to see what he did.
Yeah.
And as we can probably see by the films that he makes, he was seriously engrossed in classic horror films from people such as Roger Corman, who coincidentally used Vincent Price in his films.
Okay.
And as we can see, Vincent Price is used in Beetlejuice, and he also narrates a short film made by Burton called Vincent.
Beetlejuice?
He's the inventor.
In Beetlejuice?
Yeah, he's the inventor. Not in Beetlejuice, sorry. In Edward Scissorhands.
I was going to say.
I got that wrong.
I know
He was used in Edward Scissorhands as the inventor.
We've had plenty of glasses of wine.
Oh, yeah. Y'all come back now. Yeah. So he then went to the California Institute of Arts in 1979. And then He became an apprentice for Walt Disney.
No
an
way!
animator.
No way.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
He must be able to draw. You and him should have a draw off.
I think he'd kick my ass. But...
You get there.
Oh.
But when he was at university, he did films such as Stalk of the Celery Monster and King of the Octopus.
They sound so obscure. I
know,
that.
but they're probably great. As we see, Tim Burton.
Are you really struggling with the name?
I can't say his name, yeah.
Just say TB.
Okay, as we know, TB is known for many films that possess a certain kind of theme unlike any other. I think it's really easy to tell a Tim Burton film, a TB film, as Harry likes to say, because he's got a very distinct style of directing.
Oh, yes.
And his films tend to have a very dark, gothic theme.
Kind of macabre.
Yeah, all the way throughout. He tends to lead toward the outsider and demonstrate a world where people feel different. In films. Like if you look at Edward Scissorhands, different, Corpse's Bride, you know what I mean? And he also gives the view of the outsider and he kind of teaches us about what it is to be different and what that actually means.
Yeah, totally.
So you probably got a lot of people that watch his films that are, kind of that person sat at home, bit weird, people don't really get them, and that's kind of who he talks about. And a common factor in his films is his ability to make the audience connect with the main character. You love the outsider, and he uses a lot of close-up shots, so you really get to kind of feel that, it's like you're standing with them almost. Yeah, exactly. And this enables them to gain this like emotional connection. And there's also a common cinematic technique used in the fact that he uses a lot of non-diegetic music in his films. He does that, I noticed that in a lot of his films. And also with the use of contrasted lighting, it further enhances the gothic theme throughout the films. And so I think that from all that, you kind of can see that's Tim Burton.
Yeah, he's definitely the auteur of his craft.
Yeah, like you said earlier on, I think there's certain directors that come under that category. Like I don't think there's a lot. Like you've got your Kubrick and you've got your Lynch, David Lynch. Like, do you know what I mean? I think there's some.
Alec, my partner, he said last night, he was just like, is there anybody that is so much like Tim Burton that they could get mistaken for Tim Burton? And I was just like, I don't think so.
No.
He is his own entity out there, and I love that. I don't think you can say that about many directors. Because it's like when I did these drawings, I did some drawings for this episode to promote it. You'd look at that and think, Tim Burton. I don't think you could kind of...
You don't need to tell people it's Tim Burton.
No. And I don't think you could do that with many kind of directors out there. That's what makes him definable.
Very different.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love it. You're in for something different when you watch one of his films. You know it's not going to be the generic, this happened. This looks like this, And one thing, he has like a certain theme running through his films in the sense of like actors. He uses a lot of the same actors. Johnny Depp, Jeffrey Jones, Helena McCartan, Christopher Lee. Like, do you know what I mean?
He finds a good source of talent. Like he's always stuck with Danny Elfman pretty much. But like, he returns to films with other actors. Johnny Depp, like you said.
Well, it's probably as well an enjoyment because like I think it was Clint Eastwood who said, I may be wrong, but I think it was Clint Eastwood who said that when he makes a movie, he wants to enjoy it. He doesn't want some diva demanding something. He wants to get on with his cast. And I suppose if you have a relationship with these people and you're going to get on with them, that when they come back to do the film, not only are they going to do an amazing job, you're going to have fun.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any antics.
And why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing's very in common. And I noticed another theme throughout his films, in the sense that there always seems to be like a parental figure, but not necessarily to the child, their own child, or they may not have a child.
Yeah.
Like look in Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, for example, and Beetlejuice. In Edward Scissorhands, the way they take in Edward. And
there's Sleepy Hollow as well.
Yeah, exactly.
With Ichabod and the kid, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, that young lad, I can't remember his name either. Nazbeth, yeah. And Beetlejuice with like the way Barbara and Adam take on Lydia.
Yeah.
There seems to be someone to look out for someone.
His themes always kind of run. You've got like the underdog, who's a character, like you said earlier, who's a bit out of the real world.
Yeah.
And they kind of get through this whole scenario, engaging with death and life, and they always look dishevelled.
But I was watching Edward Scissorhands, and I was looking at his hair, and then I went and watched the extras, and Tim Burton was on it, and his hair was like Edward Scissorhands, and I was like, okay.
I think...
Are you Edward Scissorhands?
I was going to mention this later, but when it comes to Johnny Depp in his movies, perhaps apart from Edward, I think he's channeled himself into...
I actually read that apparently may be the case.
Oh, really?
He channels himself, yeah. I don't know whether it was him or someone said it. I can't remember. But yeah, that's... which is probably because a lot of the characters that Johnny Depp plays are very different. They're very quirky. They're very out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you watch Tim Burton in interviews, he kind of comes across that way in a nice, endearing way.
I just had a thought. Imagine if Tim Burton was allowed to have directed one of the Harry Potter movies. Oh my God.
That actually would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
Think what he'd done with the chess scene when they had the big chess fight.
Oh my God, that would have been epic.
That would have been amazing.
I mean, it was good.
It was amazing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Wow. My head's just spinning. like one of those spinny wheels in his films.
In his films.
Cool. All right, Lorraine, I want to know. All right, I want you to start talking about your first film.
My first film is Edward Scissorhands. And as you know, my second film is Beetlejuice. But I feel like I need to say first, there is quite a lot of similarities.
Do you think?
Within these films, yeah. In the fact that there's the dichotomy between the deceased Adam and Barbara and the Dietzes. The Dietzes are very loud and pretentious. They're very like, you know, oh, we live in our little house and we're all very prim and proper. And also in Edward Scissorhands, you have like the... Edward Scissorhands is like this artificial looking man. He's very dark, very gothic and leather. And then you have this like amazing town like below. So you've got like these two, I think in the sense, what I mean by that is these two completely different worlds.
Yeah.
But yet, you know, like we tend to side obviously with the deceased couple in that, and we just, you know, we side with Edward, who, you know, are the weird ones in it, because one's dead, two are dead, and one's not real.
Yeah.
He's not a man. Like, well, he is more of a man than some people. And also the opening credits. Like if you look at Beetlejuice and you look at Edward Scissorhands, there's all this camera gliding through both scenes, and like, you know, with Edward Scissorhands, it's over the what do you call it, the toy model, the model town.
Yeah, no, I was going to say something similar, but he does that in Batman Returns as well. He glides in. It's a definite style of the opening sort of custom of his to do that.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost like someone's floating with the camera.
To like an erratic Danny Elfman score.
Oh God, when I watched Beetlejuice, I actually watched this last night and I haven't seen it in quite a while. And luckily my kid was away for the night, so I had it turned up really loud for some reason. I must have been watching something else another day, and the music come on, the score came on, and it was, I was like, this is amazing, and I played it back because I just thought it was so good, and it's so mischievous, and it's like something naughty's about to happen, and then you know the big spider comes over and all this kind of stuff. No, it's so I think in that style there's kind of the way the camera glides and the angles and the differences between, like, you know, the dead and the Dietzes and like that. There's a lot, you know, in that sense of similarities, I think.
Yeah, no, that totally.
There is. But Edward Scissorhands is actually the first film I was going to talk about, and of course stars Johnny Depp as Edward himself.
Was that the first Tim Burton movie?
That was the first Tim Burton they made together. They also made Edward, Charlie and Chocolate Factory, Sleepy Hollow, and a couple, there is more, but I can't remember. There is more. I think they've done
Bride,
about Corpse Bride, yeah. I think they've done about five or six together.
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd, yeah. Which I wasn't actually a fan of.
It was too long, but I loved it.
No, I wasn't a fan of Sweeney Todd. That's the only Tim Burton film actually I just didn't take to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't take to it at all. So yeah, there's one out there. Sorry, Tim. Nothing personal.
I have a few.
Do you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I love you, but I don't like Mars Attacks, as I said.
Oh, that film's amazing.
Alice in Wonderland, didn't love that.
I didn't mind it actually. It wasn't my favorite. I mean, I've got my favourites: my Edward, my Beetle. You like? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it's too much CGI. I don't think he needed to go in that direction. I think he should have like stuck with the sort of stage production kind of vibe that he has. That's You win some, you lose some.
You win some, you lose some. Well, for those of you who have never seen Edward, I would highly recommend it. It's fantasy romance drama, And it's really
Edward or Edward Scissorhands?
Edward Scissorhands. Sorry.
Well, it's hard. Edward.
There's too many Edwards going on here. So Edward Scissorhands. This is basically a film about a woman, an Avon lady, played by Diane Wiest, who basically called Peg. She's trying to get some sales, and she notices in the background the big dark castle, and up she goes and meets Edward, brings him down, not thinking for a minute how he's going to integrate into that type of life. As I said, he lives up in this big dark castle. Everything's dark, apart from the gardens. The gardens are amazing.
Yeah, fiery gun.
Yeah, exactly. And everything's dark, and it comes down into like pastel. Well, pastel goes to die. I mean, every single house. I mean, it's the worst place. And like, he's coming down. And one thing I find hilarious about this film is the gossip. Oh my goodness. Like, literally, she's got someone in the car. They can't see his hands, so they don't know that he's like got scissors for hands, which I can understand people being, dude, your man in the car, he's got scissors for hands. Like, I could understand them being excited about that. But they're like ringing up, and she's like, her answer machine is full, and they're knocking on the door, and they're ringing each other like, oh, did you see some such and such as a guy in their car? And it's just like such a gossip central, which I actually find quite funny.
No, yeah, I do.
But I mean, if it was happening to me, I'd be like, no.
Just like that.
Yeah. Jog on. But it actually opens up in a really nice way. Winona Ryder is the grandmother.
Yes.
Yeah, because she's obviously a young girl in the film, but she's the grandmother now, and she's telling a story to her granddaughter, because like the snow's falling, and the snow never fell until he came along, and
snow's falling tonight.
I know, maybe he's out there.
It's like,
I hope so, because he's really lovely. So yeah, and like, it's the room she's in, it's so warm, and it's like it's actually kind of the only scenes in the film that aren't Tim Burton. It could be anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be
like
anything.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly. It could be anything. But it is very inviting. I mean, you want to be in that room with the snow falling and the warmth and all
cozy.
that. Yeah, it's really cozy. Yeah. So Edward Scissorhands comes down. He is very childlike. He's very soft-spoken, very innocent. But he's like a man, but he's kind of like, he's like a little boy.
Yeah, it doesn't,
there's such a huge innocence to him.
I have to say, Johnny Depp plays that role so well, doesn't he?
He
like,
does.
In terms of what you were just talking about, the innocence and like his naivety and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And he comes down, and like, one thing I found really quite strange about it is he comes down and he's got scissors for hands. He looks like nobody else.
Looks like he's dead.
Yeah, like it's not that he's a bit weird looking. You're right. He looks like he's dead. And everyone just like, it's like nobody notices what he looks like or what his hands are like. They're just curious and nosy.
But, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we discussed The Greatest Showman that you went to see. Again, I haven't seen it yet. But you were like, essentially, it's a freak show.
Yeah.
And this is why these people are intrigued in Edward. He's a freak.
Actually, that's a really
horrible thing to say.
That's a really valid point. Because I was going to say with, what's her name? Winona Ryder's character, Kim.
Yeah.
She comes home and she is like shocked. Who is this guy? What's he doing here? Like, you know, and that's the way you expect people to initially react. You know, he does look a bit different, but the fact he's got scissors for hands, nobody seems to be like,
shit, that's
dude, this guy's got scissors for hands. But as the film goes on, it kind of then shows you what we're like. Like, basically, there's this one woman in it. She's one of the neighbours, and she basically wants to shag everyone and go in. And she tries it on with him, and of course he's the child. He's the mind of a child. He doesn't understand, and because she doesn't get what she wants, she literally turns everyone against him. You know, and it's so sad. And then all this stuff happens, like, and everything that he does is accidental. He doesn't intend on hurting people. But the knives get in the way and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, Diane Wiest's character and Winona Ryder's character can see that. But everyone else, like, for instance, especially Winona Ryder's boyfriend, is like, this is my reason, this is the reason I have now to also go on about how horrible he is, like, and how dangerous he is and how destructive he is. Instead of, that was an accident. Yeah. So they use that. They go over. It's so over the top.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
You know, and you know, eventually he just goes back. You know what I mean? He goes back up there because they were they wanted him to be like he was
Something
like a puppet.
And when he didn't perform for them the way they wanted him
exactly, he was like ostracized from everyone. And like, you know, he goes back up there, and when Winona Ryder actually comes down and says that he's died, the woman that did it, if you watch this, all the townsfolk have gone up here, you know, like pitchforks, mob mentality, and she is the last person to turn around. Everyone just starts walking home, and she kind of steps back, and you can see in her face, I like to think it's her going, fuck, what have I done?
Yeah.
Where she realizes that she's actually contributed to this, because everyone started going nuts for him in a bad way when she said that he had tried to rape her.
Right.
Which he didn't do. She tried to rape him.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? But I think one of the big things about this film that got me is it's all about sacrifice. He's in love with Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder is in love with him. And they both separate because that's the best thing to do. Sad. They can't be together. And
what is it with you in these kind of films?
What do you mean?
Bridges of Madison County.
I know, but it's just like, you know, there's nothing worse than, you know, they're two single people. I mean, obviously in the Bridges of Madison County, she was married, but like, there's two people here. They're single. They're not doing anything wrong. But because of the way other people are treating them.
Yeah.
You know, she, you know, because at the end, the granddaughter's like, would you not go and see him again? And she's like, oh no, I want him to remember me as I was. And it's just so sad because like he was in love with her, and now he hasn't aged a day. You know, he's not dying. And he's got to live with that for eternity.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, and she has too, because you can see that she still has that feeling for him. But they, you know, for safety reasons almost, they had to separate. So it was really sad, but I really...
it's a sad story, definitely.
It is. And, you know, it's just like you look at Edward Scissorhands and you think, oh my God, he's so scary. Oh, back away. But it's the townsfolk that you need to be worried about.
Oh, I think that's one of the things about Tim Burton movies, when he shows those parallels. I mean, I look at all that pastel and all the, you know.
Oh, it's horrible.
And he's just like, ugh, it's gross.
When she comes in with the ambrosia custard rice thing,
yeah.
and she puts it in his mouth, and I was sitting there going, no.
Yeah, no, he's. I think. I mean, I know he's meant to be a creepy character, but I think he's beautiful in comparison to, and which is what Winona Ryder's like finds out.
Yeah,
you know. Also, I forgot that her boyfriend is the kid from the Breakfast Club.
Michael Hall, yeah.
You're just like, what?
Yeah, but the difference in him in Breakfast Club and that, he's like, you know, and then you see him. There's that he did a TV series, Dead Zone or something I think it's called, and he looks good.
Really?
Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall grew up and looks good. Yeah, I remember when I saw him, I was like, that's not Anthony Michael Hall. Yes, it is.
Oh.
Enjoy. No, he's really good. Look, he's really handsome, very rugged, and
yeah, yes, he beefed up.
Yeah, he beefed up good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is a sad film overall. I think it's one of his saddest, really.
It's extremely sad because at the end of the day, they're in love, and like, you know, could you imagine having to leave Alec, leave Depp, like, do you know what I mean, and just not be with them again?
Don't take this the wrong way, and I love Alec.
Yeah, I could do it, no problem. See ya.
No, that's not. I'm alluding to something else. The saddest bit of that movie for me is when the creator dies, and he's just kind of, and his hands,
and they crumble.
Yeah, because it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then he's stuck with the
scissors.
Oh, so sad. But I'm glad he gets to create. I'm doing the motion. I'm glad he gets to create his papyri, you know, monsters.
Oh, when he does the ice sculpture and she's twirling
that's
around
lovely.
like her arms up like a ballerina. And
I think that's one of the most romantic scenes.
Yeah. It's like she's on one of those, you know, a jewelry box when you open it up and the person's spinning. It's like that. No, but that's an example of he cuts her by mistake. He doesn't even see her.
Yeah.
And everyone uses this as an excuse to jump all over it. But yeah, I think if you haven't seen Edward Scissorhands, definitely go out and watch it. And it's a really nice Christmas film.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
You know, but I would. And it's 1990. It's quite a long time ago, but it's it's very, very good.
That's after Beetlejuice, isn't it?
Yeah, he was 88. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
One of the best.
Cool. What have you done?
So my first Tim Burton movie is Batman Returns, 1992.
I wouldn't have I forget that he does the Batman films. Like even that, like when I was researching, I was like, oh yeah. And when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, he does the Batman films. So what out of all his films, why that one?
I remember why it sticks out to me, and that's Catwoman.
Oh right, yeah. Because do you feel like she's more of the main character than he is than Batman?
Totally. I feel.
Should it be called Catwoman? Didn't they make a film called Catwoman?
They didn't. It's so bad.
Is that Halle Berry in that one?
Yeah. The worst Catwoman so far.
Oops.
No.
Sorry, Halle. Yeah. I have to say, hands down, and I know I go on about Ben Affleck, but Michael Keaton is by far the best Batman that ever lived. I'm just saying. And don't you bloody say Christian Bale.
Do you know?
No.
No, I don't know.
Oh, I thought he was brilliant. I loved it. But I just love Michael Keaton. I think he's amazing.
He is great. But okay, I'm going to be really honest from the start.
Okay.
I chose this film before I'd watched it. I hadn't watched it in a long time, but I just remember thinking, God, I love Batman and Batman Returns. They're like my favourite Batman movies. And for this episode, I went and watched it. And I loved it, but I found a lot of flaws with it this time.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I know.
Didn't you love Danny DeVito though as the Penguin?
I mean, I love it. I still love it, but and I love Michael Keaton, but I just feel like he's a bit of a side character in it. He's not like a protagonist in any way in Batman Returns, and it kind of made me a bit sad thinking about that. But he's still great. I don't necessarily think he's the best.
Who do you think's the best Batman?
I don't know. Batman's a really odd character.
George Clooney? Even George would say that.
Do you know? And I don't think he's like great. I don't think he's the best. But the one I'm most fond for is
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer. I totally love that film. Batman Forever is sick. But we could do a different episode on Batman. Like
we should do a Batman episode.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I may say nice things about Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Is that South Park?
I don't know what it is.
Sounds like South Park.
I was going to say something else, but I can't. Okay, so as you probably all know, the overview of Batman Returns is that Batman, it begins with the story of the Penguin. He is born to some rich parents. They're mean. They think he's ugly. He's a beast. He's got weird things going on with his hands, and he's got a bit of a strange nose. And they abandon him. They throw him into the water, and he floats away in this big long.
That's so mean.
Yeah, it's horrible. And in this big sequence, he kind of like floats down through the sewers, and he gets adopted by some penguins from the zoo, as you do.
Sometimes you hear about kids getting adopted by wolves in the forest.
This is very true. I think I'd rather get adopted by wolves than penguins.
Me too. Wolves are amazing.
They are. Basically, the synopsis is Batman has to do battle with the Penguin whilst also falling in love and battling with
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, aka Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman.
I must say, I think Michelle Pfeiffer is one of the most beautiful looking women that ever graced our presence.
Oh, yeah.
She's stunning. And there's this one bit in Stardust when she turns into, she's not a witch anymore, and she's standing facing the mirror, and she just looks back over her shoulder, and she goes, ooh, like that, and I'm just like, you're so gorgeous.
You know it.
She's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
She just doesn't seem to age. She just looks beautiful all the time.
Yeah. No, she does, and I think she's the best Catwoman to have ever graced our screens.
Meow.
Yeah. There's some great. I didn't realise like some of the one-liners that I forgot were from her, like life's a bitch and now I'm one.
Yeah, I remember that.
So good. Love that. Yeah, so that's the synopsis of this story. There's also a character of Max Schreck, played by he's a powerful tycoon, and he's planning to sabotage the city. He wants to create a power plant and steal the energy of the city. Selena Kyle / Catwoman finds out. He kills her, bastard.
Overreaction.
I know. And that's when and this is when it really hit me watching it again, because when I was a kid I was intrigued about who she was and what she was becoming. She's a freaking zombie. And I was like, whoa, she's a zombie. And that like, but that's
I love zombies. I mean, I love zombie related film TV.
No, I do. But I saw this as a kid, and I just found
scary.
It wasn't scary. I was just kind of like, ooh, who's Catwoman? And she's always been this mysterious character to me. I think she's one of the best DC comic book characters out there. I really do, because she's a bit more mystical, perhaps, than the others. Do you know what I mean? Like she's brought back to life by cats. What? And as a little kid, I didn't twig this, but there was something intriguing about it. It's like with Edward Scissorhands. You don't know what he is. I mean, I know.
No, good point. You don't.
He's not alive and he's not dead. And that's what she's.
Well, because there's a shot where there's a flashback to the inventor, like a thing Tim Burton actually does quite a lot in his films. It's flashbacks.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
And Edward Scissorhands is sat on like a table, and he's sat there from like the waist up, and then there's a leg kind of folded around. So yeah, he's inverted commas a man, but he's not a real. Despite the fact he's more manly than any man in there.
Thinking about it, there are a lot of similarities between her and
Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, but yeah. She's got the crazy curly hair.
Because doesn't she in it? She's quite a lonely character. She's like single.
Yeah.
Doesn't have many friends. She goes back to her because she owns cats, doesn't she? She goes back to her. Does she have it? Yeah, she has cats. So she goes back on her own. So I suppose in that sense, she's, as Tim Burton does a lot of loner characters, she's the loner.
Yeah, she's the underdog in who makes themselves into this sort of magnificent character, and definitely she kind of rules the screen, I think, in this.
And what do you think about the scene where she forms this alliance with the Penguin, but he kind of makes a sexual advance towards her, which she obviously don't want, and then he tries to kill her.
It's odd. It's horrible, and you think, I don't think it was needed, quite frankly.
Okay.
I think they could have, I think in these modern times, that kind of storyline wouldn't happen. I really don't.
So do you feel if this film was made today, it would be done, even if it was a Tim Burton film with the same characters and the same kind of story, it would be done just slightly different?
I think Tim Burton would have twisted it so that she screws over the Penguin.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think the Penguin's a great character. In a way, he's almost a throwaway character in this. He's not He's really creepy. He's massively creepy. He's fantastic to look at.
Danny DeVito does that character really well. Yeah, and it literally, because when I was watching it, I was like, I know Danny DeVito does it, but I was like, who's playing him? I watched a couple of clips on YouTube, and I was like, who's playing him? Because
it's that scene where I think he's eating some fish and he walks down the stairs to the...
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
It's a bit similar to, again, Edward Scissorhands, in that he's this weird character and he comes downstairs and there's all these, like, soap
and when
box,
he eats, it's like just stuffed into his mouth.
Oh, it's gross. And he goes... all the time. You're just like, oh, gross. Oh, and his horrible onesie that looks soiled. Oh. It's horrible. Yeah, he plays that character very well, I have to say. But again, I don't feel that he's put on the... what's the word? He's just not developed enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I just felt there was a massive flaw in this movie. It makes it really sad.
What, you don't think the Penguin was developed?
No, you get the backstory, but then that's kind of...
That's it.
And none of them really go anywhere. So, what I'm leading to is that crap storyline, but visually stunning. Yeah, it was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, 1 for Best Makeup and 1 for Best Visual Effects. And I think I'll mention this later on as well, with this film, the set design is just so rich. It's I'd say it's one of Tim Burton's best. Again, going back to that German expressionistic sort of style that you mentioned, it's so heavy in this film.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And it definitely, I think really when you're thinking back on this film, this is what you think of.
Yeah.
The dark noir.
So dark.
Yeah, it's really dark. The Art Deco kind of style.
Do you ever see the sun in it?
I don't think you do.
I don't think you do.
No. And like the way the penguins' henchmen are all sort of saturated circus folk. It's almost like something out of a sepia picture, and they just suddenly start moving. Do you know, he does it really well.
Well, a lot of his films are either very undersaturated or very oversaturated.
But then when it comes to, because it's based in at Christmas, you get the reds. He really uses red.
Do you ever notice though with his blood? It's like a dollop of paint.
It doesn't. It's so unrealistic.
It's the most. No matter what film you watch, it's the most. Like, especially. Sorry, I know you're going to talk about Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
And the same with Edward Scissorhands. It's like, did you just open a tin of paint?
Yeah.
But it works. You don't look at it and go, that's so unrealistic. It actually works.
The only time I think it didn't work were in certain scenes in Sweeney Todd. I was a bit like, that's just But but. In other films, you don't even care. You just like, oh, it's red.
No, because it's like such a contrast, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like in Sleepy Hollow, like the kind of, it's completely gloom all day. Like, it's a very grey.
Yeah.
And then you've got this, like I suppose in Schindler's List, you've got that kind of scene, and then the girl in the red coat.
Yeah.
It's that dramatic.
Yeah.
That you notice it. You don't think, oh, he's bleeding. You think, oh, there's some blood. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like the effect that you get when you see that little girl is like that red coat.
Yeah. Yeah, he uses red. And I know, I'd just say predominantly red in films in that sort of contrasting way, and it has a massive effect. But I have to say, on this viewing, I just found Batman kind of boring.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I need to watch them again then, because I haven't seen them in years. Either of them.
Michelle Pfeiffer, and then the costume and set design in this film are what sells it.
Yeah.
Even Danny DeVito, I mean, he's great as the disgusting penguin. But,
He's great.
But I just feel really bad because I just used to love this film. It was really, and that's why I picked it. But I hadn't seen it in a few years, and then I watched it again, and I was just like, yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry, it wasn't the most enjoyable choice for your Tim Burton experience.
It wasn't that it wasn't enjoyable. It was just
You thought it was going to be better.
Yeah, I remember it being better, but I think and it's been a long time since I've seen it, and I've always thought it's one of my favourites, but as an adult, you notice that it's just a weak plot, and in terms of storyline, it's not great.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Yeah, so I'm really sad that I've gone on that journey.
Should have picked Mars Attacks.
I still better than that.
If you watch that again, you might think differently.
I'm not big into like crazy alien goofy.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But I really liked it. I loved Lucas Haas in it. I think he was brilliant.
I don't know who that is.
He's been in quite a few things, but I think he's in... what's it called? Yeah, Witness. He was in Witness. Inception, The Revenant, Mars Attacks.
Our neighbours are noisy. Oh, I know who you mean. Oh, yeah, he's freaky deaky.
Spook. Yeah.
Cool.
So, as we get on to Beetlejuice, I said it 3 times.
Oh, no.
I know. We're all going to die. It's like Candyman. Isn't that 5 times?
No, don't say that. That genuinely freaks me out.
Okay. Candyman.
You have to say it in a mirror anyway. So.
Give me a mirror. So Beetlejuice is an amazing Tim Burton film from 1988. It stars Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis.
Can I just say, Alec Baldwin is exceptionally attractive in this film.
I don't think he is.
Oh, really?
No, and don't get me wrong. I loves me a bit of Alec Baldwin. Harry's partner's called Alec. Alec Baldwin. Although her partner's pretty hot too. Very Keanu Reeves.
Thank you very much.
Which is really disappointing because I was so in love with him. I know it can't be.
It's not disappointing.
It is for me.
Winning.
It is for me. Not disappointing for you. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so Beetlejuice is a film about a couple, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, who are Adam and Barbara, who die in a car crash. And
That happens really soon in the film, doesn't it?
it happens straight at the beginning, and they go back to their house, and they don't really realise straight away that they're dead until certain things happen. And then a family moves in because the house goes up for sale, and Winona Ryder moves in there with her stepmom and father, who are well, the father's fine, but the mother is very bizarre. And there's actual something I thought was very similar is the fact that Alan Arkin, the father figure in Edward Scissorhands, and Jeffrey Jones, the father figure in Beetlejuice, they're very, I just want an easy life. They don't really involve themselves. I noticed that, especially with Alan Arkin's character. It's like, it's almost like they don't really know what's going on around them.
Yeah.
Just do what you got to do, as long as it causes me no grief.
Yeah.
I think it was very much that kind of attitude. And Winona Ryder is a very typical character for Burton in the sense that she is a young female, quite alone, lives in her own little world. And also, she seems to be the voice of reason in this film. She seems to be the one that understands what's going on.
Yes.
More than anyone. Like in the same with Alice in Alice in Wonderland, Emily in Corpse's Bride. She's the one who's the most grounded, you know? So basically, the whole thing is them moving into this house and eventually the stepmom and dad realizing that they've got ghosts and of course using them to their advantage.
Yeah.
After the infamous dance around the table scene of
best films
Deo.
scenes in
I mean, I was watching it and it was just so funny. Like it was so funny. And you know, this thing to get them out of the house doesn't work. They just are then fascinated by the fact.
Yeah, they turn it around, don't they?
They turn it
Again,
around.
it's the freak show element.
Exactly, the freak show element. So they, you know, they think they're going to get people, you know, the top guys up here and all this kind of stuff. Like, and, you know, it's really quite sad in a sense, in the fact that, again, people using... Exploiting, exactly.
Yeah.
So Adam and Barbara, who is... they're the deceased couple. They meet Lydia, and then, as I mentioned before, people taking on the parental role, they kind of almost adopt Lydia in a sense.
It's quite weird.
It is quite weird because she kind of like, again, it's like, as I said in Edward Scissorhands, she's not really shocked. There's no like, oh my god, no one's like going, we've got ghosts.
She like waves that Polaroid and is like, oh, you're a ghost.
Yeah. Are you all gross under there? You like Night of the Living Dead under there? But there's things
you just want to like shake her. She's
as she says, live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual. And like, you know, she's a complete loner dressed in black. She has a veil. It's like she's constantly in mourning. You know, she tries to kill herself so that she can she wants to be with them rather than with her own family. This film screams German expressionism, like with the weird decor that the mother does in the house and the sculptures and I mean, this film is so bizarre.
Dress sense though.
The mother's, but it's just all so bizarre. And then she gets Otho in, you know, the interior designer, who is like really like, how amazing am I?
Yeah.
But he is one actually that throughout the film he knows what's going on with, you know, he senses the whole ghost thing. Like at the beginning, you see him, he walks by and he kind of stops and looks back. I thought I saw something.
Yeah.
And he's the one that brings them back. And, you know, he talks about ghosts and he says about how, you know, when you die, you become a civil servant. Well, as we know, when they die, a woman killed herself, you know, Miss Argentina.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if I hadn't had my little accident and she waves up her arms and she slit her wrist.
I don't understand. I don't wave for my wrist. I don't understand why she's all like purple and stuff.
I never understood that either.
I used to think, is that because like it's a different dimension?
Maybe.
And she's from a different dimension.
Yeah, but if you look at the colours in that, like when the football team comes in, it's not a normal death thing. Again, that's the like I was talking about, undersaturated, oversaturated. It's like so in your face.
Yeah. Like,
do you know what I mean? The colours are so out there. There's nothing, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Subtle. There's nothing subtle about these films whatsoever.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, and then, of course, I haven't mentioned him yet, Beetlejuice himself. I mean, what a amazing character, but God, he's disgusting. He's so vile. And like, you know, he just wants to be got, you know, out in the real world. And I love the bit in it where the brothel.
Yes.
That
I
is
was just
hilarious.
trying to look for the quotes from that. It's so funny.
That is so funny. And Keaton is exceptional. I like sometimes when you watch films, you'd be like, oh, someone else. No one could play this role.
No, he's
got a way, but one thing about Keaton. He's got these facial expressions,
and he twits.
Yeah,
like,
and he kind of
quirks
moves
his head.
Yeah, he's got these looks that I don't think anyone else.
He can speak really. There's some lines where he like says,
And he
really
talks
fast
like
kind of
this
like
at
that,
times. He's just like, oh, he's rude, he's crude, he's invasive. I mean, sexual harassment, like, you know, that is like all over this film. And but he's an amazing character. And, you know, he's not actually in the film long, but the film's only on for about an hour and a half.
yeah, it's not long.
Yeah,
is
it's
it?
not. But what he does in it is just so amazing. And I mean, I've just look, and I could spend a good hour just quoting him. But like the bits where he's just like, I won't do 2 shows a night anymore. I just won't do it. And things like that. He just the way he delivers them. I don't, like you say, I don't think anybody else could have done it. And he's very jolty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I love it when he dances up the road
Yeah.
and he's going from the left to the right. It's just so good. Yeah.
no, I do. I love that film. I thought it was so, and I watched it, and I obviously had a better experience than you from watching Batman Returns. And because I haven't seen that film for quite a long time, and I was like, do you know what? It's still brilliant.
Yeah.
It still holds today.
No, it really does. Sorry, because they're going to potentially make
Another one, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to.
No, they don't.
I don't have a clue what they're doing with it, so maybe I'm wrong in that respect.
They don't need to, but I feel like we need to see Keaton in that kind of quirky role again.
Well, he is playing it, isn't he?
I believe so. If it's happening.
He needs to.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play it, I don't think they should do it.
No, it couldn't be anybody other than him.
No.
He's so this is a bit of a Keaton off now, but like he certain roles he's done. I don't know. Have you ever seen Much Ado About Nothing?
Mm-hmm.
He's just like Conrad, and he's just like, I am an ass, and he just does that. I mean, that's very sort of Beetlejuicy, but then you know, the quirky kind of thing. But then he can do sinister really well.
Oh my god!
Like, have you seen the latest Spider-Man?
No.
Okay, well, there's a certain scene in it that he's involved in, and he's sat in the car with Spider-Man, and it's quite dark, and you would just be like, if you were Spider-Man, excuse my French, shit in your pants.
Did you know that his name was actual Michael Douglas?
Is it really?
Yeah, and he changed it because there was ordinary Michael Douglas.
No way.
Yeah, and I think he changed it. I may be wrong here, but because to Keaton because of Buster Keaton.
Oh, right. Oh.
But I may be wrong.
But yeah, make a nice sort of homage-y sense. But have you seen him in Birdman?
I think so. Yes.
He's very good in that role, and that bit where he's walking through Times Square.
Yeah.
So good.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So good. Highly recommend watching that. But such a good film.
It's a really good film, and it's very weird. It's very quirky. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And again, the huge contrast between like Adam and Barbara and the Dietzes.
Yeah.
You know.
God, Barbara's dress. Just hate it.
I know, she's like a sack in it. I mean, Gina Davis is this tall, beautiful, gorgeous, slender woman, and they dress her in a potato sack.
Yeah, that's one of the few roles where I like her in. I have to say.
Oh, you're not a fan, Gina?
I love her in what's the film? The baseball film that she's in.
Oh, with Madonna.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh God, I love the year. No.
Crying? There's no crying in baseball. Are you crying?
Oh, what is that film?
Oh, I'm gonna have to Google. Oh, League of Their Own.
A League of Their Own. I freaking love that film.
Yeah, that's an amazing film.
You know,
Bit of Hanks.
Yeah, he's good in that.
Everyone
role,
loves a bit of Hanks.
Yeah,
Hanks is good in every role.
Yeah, but yeah, this is, I'd say, a handful of the like her role in this is one of the few that I love her in. She plays it well.
She plays it really well.
Especially when she gets that bit of metal on her face and she's just
like, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Yeah.
Yeah. Good choice.
Great choice. So, Harry, what are you going to say to us about Sleepy Hollow?
So, this is Tim Burton's 7th motion picture filmed in 1999 again.
1999.
There's something about that year, Lorraine. I said this in the last episode, that 1999.
You say that a lot.
I just think, yeah, well, it works. We got some great ones. Anyway, again, he comes back with Danny Elfman doing the musical score. The cinematographer this time is Emmanuel Lebetsky, and the production design is Rick Heinrich. I think this is quite a change from his previous films. He's used other people, and I think you can tell there's a definite style change.
Yeah.
Though still very Tim Burton.
Very Tim Burton.
Yeah. And we don't get the swerving kind of swooping
Actually, you don't.
intro in this one. It's a change to the rhythm, and I noticed that straight off. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Where is that?
That's the point.
It's kind of like, not like he's maturing, just changing. And I think you can. I felt that from the off. I was like, hang on, where's that gone? So that hit me upon like watching it for this podcast. It's the third film with Johnny Depp. And interestingly, the executive producer was Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I remember seeing that and going, oh.
Yeah. I think you can kind of tell there's elements in this that do kind of have that, because it's a bad film, but Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Yeah. I think that's that hammer horror-y kind of vibe.
But I think that's what we said about Burton films. There, you can tell he likes the classic horror type of film.
Yeah, he's definitely got that vibe in this film. So to give a synopsis, it's a gothic. It mixes a few genres really. It's a gothic, romantic, supernatural horror with elements of humour, comedy, and it's loosely based on the 1820 short story by Irvine Washington, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and it's set in.
What year was that?
1820.
Really?
It was written in.
Oh wow! Yeah. I didn't know it was that old.
Wow. I think it's very loosely based on that. I think quite a few people had a bit of an issue with Tim Burton's storytelling of it.
Oh really?
But I love it.
So I love that film. I think it's a great film.
Yeah. It's based in 1799 and it begins in New York and follows the exploits of police constable Ichabod Crane, played by Johnny Depp, looking very attractive, by the way, in this role. He's sent from New York to Sleepy Hollow to investigate a series of beheadings, rumoured to be caused by the Headless Horseman, which is played by Christopher Walken in flashbacks and certain other parts of the film. And along the way, he meets various characters, such as Katrina Van Tassel, played by Christina Ricci, and Lady Van Tassel, played by Miranda Richardson. What I noticed about watching it, well, I remember from watching it the first couple of times, is there's a lot of British actors in this film, and looking into it was actually filmed a lot in Britain. Yeah.
Because you've got Michael Gambon,
and
Miranda Richardson.
Yeah. I don't understand why she's American in it and the other.
I know. I'm probably going to get jumped on over for this because there's probably a reason, but Ichabod has oh god, all I'm thinking of now is in Friends, Ichiban. You know the thing. Sorry. He's got a British accent.
Yeah. I think it's just to imply that he's
educated.
Yeah.
Oh, so if you're British, you're educated. You heard it here fast, all you Brits. We're so educated.
No, but he
back then maybe that.
Yeah.
If you spoke a certain way back then, it meant you were sorry.
Or I wonder if it was just a conscious choice of Johnny Depp's to.
Yeah.
You don't know, do you?
That's true.
But because he's almost meant to come across as a bit pompous, isn't he?
And the crazy black hair. Burton. Jack Burton.
Yeah. So overall, in essence, it's a horror story, but it has a lot of melodrama and humour. And I think that's an element in a lot of Tim Burton movies. Very much so in this film.
Well, I read a quote where he says, "I've never made a scary film."
Oh, really?
I may have paraphrased a bit there, but basically that was the general consensus.
Really?
Yeah. But his film, I think what he probably means by that, and Tim, call us if I'm wrong. No, what he probably, like, you don't hide from a Tim Burton film.
Lorraine actually covered her eyes.
Yeah. I wish you could see. So probably in that sense, like, you're not, oh my God, I can't look, it's so bad. But it's scary because, like, with this, you're like, obviously there's a guy running around cutting people's heads off.
Yeah,
and
it's
you know, he's
gory.
very scientific, as in there's no way it can be anything other than a human presence, a being, like, do you know what I mean? There's no way it's some ghost. And I think, you know, in that sense, when we watch Burton films, you know, it's usually an oddity, like, of a character.
Well, actually, in my research for this, it was a Paramount film, but he wasn't actually meant to direct it.
Really?
He was brought into, but I think his fingerprints are all over this film. I mean, it is the storyline. You know,
It's very grey.
it's very grey. It's very saturated again.
Yeah.
But like we were talking about earlier, the use of blood, when the blood's involved, it's
red.
So red. So red. What I really liked about this film is the cinematography. I think it's very different to his previous work and work afterwards. He doesn't quite do it in the same way. It's very saturated, as I said, very grey, very few hints of colour in it. When there are hints of colour in it, it's for a reason. Like, for instance, in the flashbacks, they're all quite vivid.
Yeah,
to his mom.
Yeah.
It's all sort of colourful. She's floating around with the colourful petals, etc., to imply that that was a happier time.
And most of this film is just outside.
It is, well, yeah.
I
That's
personally
true.
think a lot of it is just outside.
But then again, you get that kind of staged vibe to it, and I really like that. It's kind of like a nod to classic films, and I think that's such a lovely element.
I think the horror element for me in this film was, do you remember the family that was killed, the mum, the dad, and the
I was
son?
just about to bring that up.
That's horror.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the most extreme I think Tim Burton's ever gone, in that he implies that a child's killed.
Yeah, it was the fact that they got the child.
Yeah, and that's such a cute little kid.
I know.
But the cinematography in that whole the whole direction in that scene is fantastic. When the candle's spinning around and it's in, you know, the impression of the cutouts on the spit. Yeah, so good. Yeah, very good use of direction there. And I think in this film as well, you kind of get that whole steampunk vibe, like when he uses his contraptions.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is very steampunk. Isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I do. I thought that was even the way he turns around to put it on, like, so no one sees, and then he turns around and everyone's like, because they haven't seen this before.
No, they're like, who the hell is this guy? One of the themes in it is that Ichabod, and I don't know whether this, again, because we always kind of say that the protagonist is kind of an expression of Tim Burton himself, but he's kind of torn between magic, science, and reason.
Yeah.
And like he plays that out with Ichabod's past, with his parents. His dad is a man of faith. His mum is a healer, a person of magic. And he says he is all about cause and consequence from that. And it explores that. And at the end, he kind of marries the two and realises, okay, I can deal with this. And I think that's a really nice.
It is very
theme in
seeing
it.
is believing, though. Because
Yes,
when they talk
that's
about
true.
the Headless Horseman, he's like, no, there's no way. And then obviously it happens and he's in bed. And it's actually quite a comical scene when Michael Gambon, he goes, and he's got his hand, and it's like over his face. He's like, and Michael Gambon's like, yes, we told you that. And he's like, yes, but he was, and he's like, well, but what I find fascinating was like, Ichabod is so like frantic and, you know, crazy, and Michael Gambon is like, yeah, okay, calm down. Like, he's so calm. It's very like, yeah, but we told you. Do you see what it's like? Do you see what we mean now?
I think Michael Gambon's character is really curious in it. He just doesn't. He's like, oh yeah. Well.
But he is. He's very like, whatever. Just go with the flow, man.
But in the backstory, Katrina is just like, my father's built up this.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that guy.
Yeah.
Really?
You sure?
Yeah.
But speaking of Katrina, I think she represents a lot of characters you see within a Burton film, in the sense of the blonde female who come across as very innocent, but yet they're quite powerful.
Yes, they're like the light witch element, aren't they? Yeah.
I suppose like Kim in Beetlejuice, Vicky Vale, Batman. You've got that kind of.
Who's Kim in Beetlejuice?
Winona Ryder.
She's got black hair.
She's Kim in Edward Scissorhands.
Sorry. threw me there. I was like, what?
Yeah, so just like Kim in Edward Scissorhands and Vicky Vale in Batman, like they've got that blonde, very innocent, angelic look about them, but
Yeah.
you know, they're actually quite ruthless and, you know,
Can
they get
hold
shit
their
done.
own. Yeah.
You know, when shit needs to be done, they're down with that. Like, do you know what I mean? But and I think that's a common factor through some of his films.
I think it's interesting with Christina Ricci because you feel like she's been in a Tim Burton movie before.
Yeah.
Because of the whole Addams Family thing, because it feels very...
It's very Tim Burton, yeah.
But then you realise she hadn't. This is her first one. And I thought that was... I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, God, yeah. You know, she... Yeah. That made me smile. I was like, actually, she hasn't been. But interestingly, who was it? There's a guy who worked on the Addams Family, Scott Rudin. He was a producer who worked on this movie and brought Christina Ricci in.
Oh. I think Christina Ricci spoke about how, because she's known Johnny Depp for quite a long time, but from a child.
Yeah.
And then she was like his love interest and had to kiss him, and apparently that was a little bit
odd for her.
Odd, yeah, because I think he was with Winona Ryder on the set of, was it Mermaids with Cher?
Yeah.
And Christina Ricci was the little sister.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they've kind of got that common interest. But I liked Christina Ricci in this. I thought she played it really well.
I didn't.
Oh, I did. I liked her.
No, she didn't. She didn't quite feel like powerful enough of her own. She's just a bit like, oh, you know, and she rears up her horse and.
But I think that's the whole point of it with her, is that she doesn't have to be loud and in your face about it. She does things
in a subtle way.
And I think that's the whole thing about it, is that, you know, it's not over the top. It doesn't need to be over the top.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. That's how I swear. I may be wrong.
This was actually nominated for 3 Academy Awards.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Art direction, set direction, for which it won, and cinematography, and best costume design. And in terms of costume, that this is going to sound really silly, but Miranda Richardson's outfit at the end, it's stunning.
She does look good in it.
Yeah, she does. Alec watched it. I'll cut this bit, but I've got to tell you. Alec watched it and she's like there with her corset and he's like, boobs. God. Oh, yeah. But something in this film which definitely relates to his other films is that witch-like character. He's always got to have that, or a couple in this film. It's like a female, mysterious, often misunderstood kind of character.
Yeah.
You think it's Christina Ricci in this, but it actually turns out to be Lady Van Tassel and her sister. Yeah. And then in other films...
The Red Queen. Mrs. Lovett.
Mrs. Lovett. Well, it's... Yeah.
And in one of his later films, Dark Shadows, Angelique Bouchard.
She's great in that. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it.
I really enjoyed Dark Shadows.
Was it funny? I have it, like, because I have a huge thing of things to watch, and that's one of them.
Yeah, I'd say that's Burton back on form after Alice in Wonderland.
It's almost, from what I've seen of it, it's very Addams Family-esque type film. Because at one stage, are they like staying in a motel? Or a hotel type thing?
Their house is sort of...
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of when, I just remember thinking of when the Addams Family had to go and stay in a hotel. But yeah, there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm shocked that I like this film because it is, in essence, a horror film.
Yeah, but it's not...
It's more of a horror film than in his other films.
Yeah, I know, but I think your definition of a horror film and what a horror film actually is probably 2 different things.
No, but if you think it is a horror film, but I think the reason I like it is because it's kind of got that gothic, steampunk, macabre kind of style to it.
Yeah.
Even though there's beheadings and it's a bit slashery, I suppose. And I can see past that. I can deal with it because it's got this kind of Victoriana gothic thing going on it. If it weren't like that, if it weren't moody and dark and expressionistic, and that storyline was going on, I wouldn't
watch it.
No, but Burton puts these elements in, and for people who hate horror, I mean, my partner hates horror, and he was watching it, and he loves it. But
yeah, because actually Dev doesn't like horror, but he loves Sleepy Hollow.
It's just, it just embraces you in this world that you're happy to go into, and I think that's what Burton does. That's what he's great at doing. And
well, it's escapism, isn't it, when you watch his films? Like, it's a life that you... I mean, when we watch his films, you're like... It's not like you recognise anything and think, yeah, I'm going to be there next week. Like, you know, you're not going to get there.
But I want it, Lorraine.
I want to be there.
Oh, I still got Jaws to talk about.
Oh, fuck, a duck, man.
Just forgot.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a brief intermission while Harrie and Lorraine celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Thank you. Yeah. And now back to our scheduled programming.
So let's move on to the Flashback Film Club. Pretty excited about this one.
I think this idea of this film came from you.
From me?
Yes. I think Harrie sneakily stuck in a film choice. Because nobody actually suggested this film, apart from you.
Oh, it's
Sneaky.
such a good film.
A great film. And it's an old film, over 40 years old, 1975.
40 years old.
Directed by Spielberg.
Can you guess what it is?
Dun. That's all you get. That's all you get.
Done.
We're done. No, this is... I think most people probably would have seen this film. Basically, it's about a shark.
Yep.
Who kills people in the water?
Okay.
Obviously in the water. He's not that talented.
So yeah, we're talking about Jaws.
He's a serial killer of the sea.
Oh no, don't
Yes.
bring it around.
Well, he kills more. I think to be a serial killer is either... I think it's 4. You know? Or does he only kill 3?
No, he kills...
Oh, yeah, because he kills the leg guy. Yeah.
Uh,
So, yeah, he's a serial killer.
yeah, he kills well over. He kills like 5, 6
Yeah.
people, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Is it he or a she? I don't know. How does that work?
Oh, yeah. That bitch is a she.
Smile, you son of a bitch.
Exactly. So for those of you who don't know, this film was actually a book written by a Peter Benchley. Not Finchley, for some reason I had that in my head. And he basically got the idea of it from a story, I think off the coast of Long Island, about a huge shark, 4,550 pounds, that was caught. And he'd been toying with this idea for ages. And then finally someone got him to write it. And then he just wrote this book about a shark that goes around killing people. And he... One of the things I was watching an interview with him, they couldn't come up with a name. They were coming up with all these names and they thought they were a bit cheesy, they didn't really make much sense. So then one day they just said Jaws.
Yeah.
And the only reason that they come up with the name Jaws is because they literally couldn't think of anything else. So that was...
Yeah, it kind of doesn't... If you think about it, in terms of the story, it kind of doesn't work massively well.
Well, no one knew what it was about.
Yeah.
Like even Spielberg was saying, and it's like, I don't know what this film's about. You know what I mean? So nobody really knew.
Yeah. We'll get to that in with my thoughts on that, but it becomes So, if you haven't seen it, yes, it is about a killer shark. But the overview, the synopsis is it's set in a seaside community of Amity, and it's set in the seaside. It's set in the seaside community of Amity, and the town is under attack by a dangerous great white shark.
Yeah.
And the town's chief of police, played by Roy Schneider.
Chief
Schneider
Brody.
or Scheider?
I think it's Schneider.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say
I
Schneider.
always want, yeah, okay. Chief Brody, that's it. He brings in a marine biologist played by Richard Dreyfuss called
Hopper. Matt Hopper.
I think I keep saying Hooper because Quint says it in that
Hooper.
sort of, Hooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't actually... Dreyfuss didn't want to do the role. He said no for months and months and months, and then he ended up taking it.
Really?
Yeah, I was watching an interview with him.
He is the spitting image of my dad in that movie.
Is
that
he?
time. Yeah. It's like watching my dad on screen, but American.
He's good. He's a good fit for it, though.
Yeah, he's great in that role.
Yeah, I think because I think they had a few different people up, to try and play these roles, but they ended up with all of them. Actually, they had different thoughts. I know about Lee Marvin, Jeff Bridges, Charlton Heston. They were all thought for these different roles, but none. I don't think any of these were the first choices.
And imagine if they'd have gone with them, how different it would be.
Yeah, and what kind of career would they have had? Because obviously this is over 40 years ago, and
Yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss especially, he's had a big career.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Quint is a grizzled shark hunter who Brody also brings along, employees to help kill the shark. And then at the end, in the third act, they are on this boat.
Yeah, because about the last hour is basically three men on a boat.
That's the best part
with
of the movie,
a
though.
serious lot of dick measuring going on. And
Yeah.
it's quite funny watching them argue because it's like, you need to work together, people, in this. But like Quint, it's my boat, you do as I say. Simple as this. But no, I think you're right. The last hour is definitely the best thing.
Yeah.
I was surprised it was on for an hour, the last bit, if you know what I mean. I thought it wasn't, but because it goes so quickly.
Yeah.
It goes really quickly.
Because I don't particularly like the first sort of half of it. I just like the townsfolk. It's all kind of a bit creepy.
Well, for me, it's like, there's obviously a problem, like with a shark, and the way they're just, like anything, money. And then the mayor is like, do you know when he tells that family to go in? And they do. I'm like, and they've got like the parents either side, and they've got the 3 kids in between. I'm like, you tell him to do one. I'm not going to be your testing bunny.
Do you know, because in light of this episode, it was funny watching it this time because he's almost like a little bit of a Tim Burton character in his suits and stuff. He's got anchors all over it, and it's, I
think you're right there.
It just
good catch.
Thanks, mate.
Good catch. We're full of jokes today.
But yeah, I thought about he's not a nice character, and it is almost, well, it isn't Tim Burton-esque because he made it before Tim Burton made his films, but maybe it was an influence, I don't know. But that twee town, pastel-y kind of colours, and it's just all a bit icky, really, and you feel uncomfortable like Brody does in that.
Yeah, because it's like with Brody, he's like the only one who seems to get it, like I suppose with the likes of Kim in Edward Scissorhands and stuff like that. But as well, there's a mob mentality towards this shark when they've caught a shark, and they're all standing around like, giving themselves pats on the back, like, and it seems to be they're more concerned with like getting the shark than wondering do they actually have the right shark. They're more concerned with looking like the top guy than actually saving people. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just, I hate the people in that town. Like, I only really like Brody and his family, and like Hopper and Quint. Like, you don't like anyone else. They're all dicks.
Yeah. Talking about his family, I love that scene, and this is something Spielberg's really good at, is that scene between his son and his son just starts copying him. And it's just so lovely. And he does a similar thing in Close Encounters as well with Richard Dreyfuss and his kids, and I think that's quintessential Spielberg, and I love that.
Those 2 boys didn't turn out, their lives didn't turn out very well in
The
real
actors?
life. Yeah, one of them died.
Oh, no.
The older one, I think, and the younger one had a bit of an issue with the law.
Oh, right.
I think inappropriate behaviour towards
goodness.
the younger variety. But yeah, so...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was a bit... Because when I see child actors and you don't see them in anything else, I like to go back and see what they're doing now.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? And it's amazing how many always come across that they've passed.
You just ruined that scene for me now. I'm going to think of that.
I know, because when I seen that he was sat on the beach, when he sat on the beach when Mike calls out and he's like, and I'm like, what do you grow up to be?
Oh my god.
I know, but I knew then because I'd read it like an idiot.
Well, don't tell me stuff like that.
Yeah, sorry. We just live in our own little bubbles. I think that this is a film that haunted a lot of people, though, when it came to going into the sea. I mean, it haunted me as a child in my bed, where I would cover the size of my bed with teddy bears, because then Jaws, who lived under my bed, obviously, could not get me.
Yeah, no.
But then I got cold, so I had to kick them off so that the duvet landed on me properly. But that was one of the things, the screenwriter, Carl Gottlieb, his name was, he said that that's the kind of thing he wanted, and he wanted that kind of like psycho effect where people talk about certain scenes, and he said people would actually come up to me on the street going, dude, I didn't want to go into the war after watching that, and that's what he wanted.
For me, I think that what's great is this is where sort of, you know, Spielberg again is the master of suspense, because, and it was largely due to production limits, that you don't see the shark, but it makes it so much better. And there's that scene, and Quint is got his fishing rod out, and you just hear the click, 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 and you know, fuck, it's here, and that is all you need, and you're terrified.
Yeah,
so good, so good. But for, you know, as a child, that was terrifying.
It was absolutely terrifying,
because it's all suggested in the water. You don't see it, and you just, that's why I struggled today to go into water.
Oh, you respect the sea,
because you're just like, wow.
I'm not a sea I love the ocean. I love standing by the ocean. I love looking at the ocean. I will not go into the ocean. I will tittle tattle at the start.
Oh, really?
But no, I'm not stupid. I'm not saying people are stupid, but like, I'm like, you know what? When I see these people surfing and they know there's sharks in there, I'm like, dude,
Wow.
you're living too on the edge for me there.
Have you seen that footage of that surfer in South Africa? And he was doing a competition, and he was that real? Because
sometimes you don't know if they're real or not.
Yeah, that was real. That was like 3 years ago, because I remember being in Indonesia and watching it on the news, and he basically, I think he just punches the shark and swims off, and
Does he get away?
Yeah, he got away. Yeah.
Good, I'm glad.
I think the shark bit his board or something.
I thought you were going to say his balls then. He bit his balls. But just...
Yeah.
God, no. I'm just I mean, I'd love to do those things, but I'm just too much of a scaredy cat when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think part of the reason is Jaws. Thank you, Spielberg, for ruining the sea for me.
He hasn't ruined it, but yeah, he definitely, you know, plays with your imagination, and I think that's what movies are about, isn't it?
Well, I can understand like these professional surfers going in and I know your partner's big into it, but it's just something they like to do. But it's like, you know, you see Australia and there's nets there, and it's just like the everyday Joe going in. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, no, you don't need to be in there. You don't need to be that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on the sand, at least I know I'm safe from sharks.
Yeah. So what I noticed on this viewing, because I watched it this week, ready for the Flashback Film Club, is that I really noticed the distinctions between the three men. And I know you said there's a lot of dick measuring, as you said. But there's almost like class distinctions.
Oh God, totally.
Yeah, like Hopper is the rich,
the upper
class, and then you've got Quint, who is, well, he's lower class,
working class.
Yeah. And then you've got Brody, who's kind of middle class.
Yeah.
But he's also, it's not just that as well. They're like different representations of sort of character.
Yeah.
And Brody is the everyman, and in the end, he's the one that, you know,
saves the day.
And I think that's nice, because it's relatable for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's important sometimes when you watch something. It's like you want to relate to a character, whereas, you know, some people won't relate to, you know, Hopper's character because, you know, what he does. But other people will relate to Quint. Like, so I do think it's I never thought of that, but yeah, that's a good point actually.
And in that last act, basically, on the boat, that's, you know, it's their old man and the sea kind of moment, isn't it? They all kind of find out these realizations about themselves to a degree.
That scene where because I haven't watched Jaws in a long time, but that scene where Quint bites the bullet.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When there's one bit where his mouth just spurts out all this blood, and I'm like, I was actually watching that scene kind of, you know, head to the side. I was looking at it but not looking at it or something, and I didn't remember it being that scary.
Yeah,
I actually thought it was really scary, and I just love the bit when you know, Brody is fishing the stuff out into the water to kind of entice the shark up, and he just, you know, the shark comes out of the water and then he goes walking backwards like, you're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yeah, like,
do you know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, that boat is like
apparently
hors d'oeuvres to the shark.
Yeah, in screen testings for this film, that bit happened and people screamed, and then he goes, you're going to need a bigger boat, but they had to change the edit to make him pause because people were like, "Rah!" for ages, and you didn't hear him say,
oh yeah, because you do jump when it comes, because I knew that was going to happen, and I'm still like, you're waiting for it. But no, I
but his reaction's so good as well, the way he just like stands up and wide-eyed, and he's just like,
and the cage when Hopper's down in the cage. That's so scary. And that happens in real life.
Well, apparently Hopper was meant to die, but they, in production, they got some footage from Australia.
Oh, they did. I read that, yeah.
And-
I saw that in an interview.
Yeah, and they had to... I can't remember, was he in the tank or the cage or outside of the cage?
I think he was in it because I was in the extra scenes, the extra footage on the video. The shark specialists, these two Australian, this man and woman, that they talk about that, and they had to use actual footage for make it realistic.
Yeah, so because he wasn't going to survive in the end, but because of that they brought, and I'm glad he does, because I love the way they just swim off of it.
They sort of, it's almost like what Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where they go off and live their happy lives together. But I think I think it's a great ending, and I almost I have watched the other Jaws films, but I almost feel like they could have left it there.
Oh,
I don't really think they needed to make one, because even with Michael Caine's character, apparently he was filming that when he won an Oscar, and he couldn't go and collect it. And he was really pissed about it.
It was Jaws 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was it the 3D one? Wasn't there? There was Jaws 3D. I remember watching one of them with those shitty little 3D glasses.
I can't remember.
Yeah, there's definitely a 3D one. But yeah, I think the second one wasn't too bad, but I think they could have stopped at one almost.
Yeah.
But I thought it's such a good film, and it's one of those films that does last the test of time, and it did. I was still scared at parts of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it was also the prototype for the blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was that's when it all kind of began. And
was
what a way to begin it. Do you know what I mean?
With such a big presence.
Literally.
That shark was
a ton.
Massive. Don't want to get on the wrong side of him.
Do you think we should talk about John Williams though?
Obviously. Yeah, the infamous score by John Williams. Yeah.
Well, apparently when they first heard those, I don't know what the notes are, but
those notes.
They were like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And imagine if it had been. I think without that music, you just wouldn't get that that build up.
Well, I think in a sense, it's a lot like Elfman. It's very mischievous and shit, something's going to happen, and how it starts slow and the way it's, like you said, speeds up that. Yeah. And you're
on a hunt.
Yeah, you're almost a little bit tense.
You feel like the prey.
Yeah.
That's what's great about this movie.
Yeah.
That's why your imagination goes crazy, because
exactly.
you know. Yeah.
No, I do like and everyone knows it.
And it's a testament to how, because you sometimes forget of the production side of things. You don't think about what people do that helps make the film, and this score is, I'd say, what's his face? Spielberg said that he owes a big debt to Williams for this score, because he helped make the movie what it is.
Yeah.
With that. It's
No, it was a good choice that you snuck in there. I'm gonna have to do that one week. Such and such said, let's do this film. I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, but what am I going to do now if we do another top 5? And I'm like, I want to talk about Jaws again.
I know, because sometimes we've done an episode and I'm like, I really want to talk about the Silence of the Lambs or Aliens, and I can't because that's in the first one.
We can talk about them in different ways.
Yeah.
Tell us, guys. Tell us what you want us to talk about with those films.
Yeah, we need some suggestions, because I think sometimes with these podcasts, there are so many films out there and directors and actors, blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes it's hard to come up with an idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because what is a good one to do? What are people going to listen to?
Actually, Sally has.
I can't remember what she said, but it was obscure films, that people do, which I think is a good one.
Yeah.
And in our next podcast, we're going to have a director each.
Yeah.
And will we tell them who they're going to be?
Yeah.
Directors. So in our next episode, because I do like my horror film and Harry isn't overly fond of it, so I'm kind of sneaking in a bit of horror for me there. So I'm going to do Wes Craven, and I haven't thought of both films I want to do. I'm definitely going to talk about Scream.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I think one of the other ones will probably be either A Nightmare on Elm Street 1 or 3. Yeah.
You'll have to let me know, because...
you can read up on it, Harry. I'm not going to make you watch it, don't worry. And you're going to do a certain Batman-related person.
That's right. I'm going to be doing Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
And I've picked my films.
Oh, I've forgotten what they were. You told me.
I'm going to do Inception and
Okay.
Dunkirk.
Okay, I haven't seen Dunkirk, so I will happily watch that. And I have seen Inception. And after I watched it, I said to myself, one day I'm going to have to watch that film again. So that can be me watching it again.
Well, I hope you enjoy it because I loved that film. But that's for another day.
Oh yeah, sorry, we'll end up talking about that. So yeah, Nolan v. Craven.
Dun, dun.
And, drop us a line and let us know who you prefer, who's the better one. We'll do a little poll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so that's everything Jaws like. And if you haven't seen it, do go and watch it. And be careful when you're in the sea.
Yes.
Especially if you know there's sharks around.
Punch it in the face if you need to.
Yeah, apparently they don't like that.
Well, who does?
Yeah, I don't like that either. I'd run away if you punched me in the face.
So, moving on, have you got any stuff that you want to watch?
Yeah, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I haven't seen it yet, but I don't even know if it's out. I don't know when it's coming out. Ready Player One.
Oh, Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg. I like Spielberg. I like a lot of his stuff. So yeah, I liked the look of that. Obviously, I'm not going to go into it because I don't know what it's about. I haven't seen it. Obviously, I've seen a trailer. But another trailer, which I think I mentioned this before, and Harry is like doing cartwheels and somersaults. You've probably seen on our Insta stories and stuff like that. And she talks about it a lot, is the Marvel film, Infinity War.
Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
Get it right.
So I'm really, really, really looking forward to that.
That looks so good.
I think one day we're going to have to do a serious, intense
MCU
episode.
Yeah.
But, that'll take a long time because there's so many Marvel films to watch. So, but yeah, so hopefully I'll get to the cinema to see those things. I'm going to need to call in some favours with a few babysitters, or I'll go on my own.
Well, no, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
I know, I've done it before.
Oh, okay.
I think I've seen Armageddon on my own. No, it wasn't. It was the other one. It wasn't Armageddon. Remember the one, Deep Purple? No, Deep Purple. Deep
Impact.
The one with Robert Duvall.
Deep Impact?
Deep Impact.
Yeah,
Yeah, Deep Impact, yeah.
Deep Impact.
Deep Impact. Sorry, what are you going to go see? I'm going off on a rant here.
That's okay. I want to see You Were Never Really Here.
I've heard that. What is that?
It's the new Lynn Ramsey film.
Okay.
And it stars Joaquin.
I say that like I know, but I think it's Joaquin.
Phoenix. And he plays a hitman, and it's kind of, I think it explores his some issues.
I haven't seen him in much lately.
He's in quite a few things at the
is
moment. He's in that, and he's in Mary Magdalene as well, plays Jesus.
I like him.
He's a good actor.
He's different.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look like anybody.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And I like that.
I watched him in a quirky film recently. Paul Thomas Anderson's, what's it called? Inherent Vice.
Oh.
That was odd.
Odd.
But I mean, I really struggled
Yeah.
to keep up with it, but he's ever so good in that. He's really funny in that because he does humour quite well as well.
No, I like him.
But this You Were Never Really Here looks quite dark.
Ooh.
But some of the scenes, like some of the shots I've seen, look spectacular. But I've heard reviews saying it was great, but it haunted them and they'd never want to watch it again. So I
love
think,
films like that.
well, there you go, one for you.
So, anything else?
Yeah, earlier in the podcast, I mentioned that I listened to an In Our Time podcast about Hamlet, and that's just making me want to go back and watch Franco Zeffirelli's.
Is that the Gibson one?
Yeah, I really like that version, so I'm going to go and do
Cool.
that. Yeah.
Well, that's it.
It's a wrap.
That is. So, of course, as you know, you can always contact us with your thoughts, with what you want to hear, what you want to see. You know, you can always jump onto iTunes and give us some ratings and some stars.
Yeah, that'd
we
be
really
nice.
appreciate it because 5 stars gets us up there. And, you know, the more we have, the more chance we have of getting into that old top 100, which may take a while, but, you know, you got to keep trying, haven't you? So ways to contact us are, of course, you can email us at showmethepodcast@gmail.com. And you can go to our Instagram page or our Facebook page, which is Show Me the Podcast, or you can go to our Twitter page, which is SMPTcast. I know, it's a hard one to say.
And where can we find your stuff, Lorraine?
I do a blog, which I haven't done for a few weeks because I've been trying to get my master's sorted. So it's going to be a bit quiet. So I'm going to try and get a few in, which is on WordPress and Pinterest, which is Winging It, the Truth About Parenting. And I have myself on Instagram and Twitter as Lorraine Smith 74 with a Y.
Cool.
What about you?
I am Tales of Peck on Instagram, Twitter, and WordPress, and I write sort of travel-like blogs. So if you are into that, check it out.
Yeah, your Bali one should be up soon.
No pressure.
Get writing, Harry. I know, because I forget you go, and then all of a sudden it pops up, and I'm like, oh, I must make myself a cup of coffee.
It's 3 months ago. 3
Really?
months ago. Yeah. Crazy.
That's just laziness.
I know, man. Hey!
You're like, hey, what did you say? Yeah, so as I said, thank you guys. You've been listening to Show Me the Podcast, and so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. I leave, a heave, a sigh, and say goodbye. Goodbye! Andy. All right, my lover.
Outtakes! I'm going to cut this bit, but when you went like, you know, in American Pie 2,
Yeah.
when she's just like, and that includes fucking me in the ass, and he goes, you know, just like that.
Wow, Tim, I do declare.
She's a freaking zombie.